Good evening. Welcome to the May meeting for Airstream Wireless Incorporated. We're here at Parkside for the members meeting monthly, every Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month. Feel free to come check us out. Thanks for joining us on the stream tonight. We've got a fairly big agenda, a couple of events that are happening and have happened recently. We'll just go over that. The usual network updates, and we're going to get a special presentation from one of our members about a recent course that they were attending, and some other information about some work on the DNS policy that you may have heard about in prior meetings, which is kind of coming to fruition now, and we're starting to put that document to its final edits. And just an update on some of the online services as well, some of the web systems that we're always updating. So to start out, you may have seen on the members list a MikroTik training course which we recently were able to be involved with, and Mike Everest from Duxtel contacted us and kindly offered a free place at one of these training sessions, and it's a certification course type thing. I think basically just goes for a day, and it's called the MTCNA, the MikroTik Certified Network Administrator course. So some of you guys may be familiar with that already, and Mike's very well versed in the MikroTik technology as well, so he was a great representative for that. Anyway, we put out an email to our members just before the event. It was actually pretty late notice, and quite a few of you guys said that you would be interested in going along if possible, and from that we just selected some people at random to attend the course. Initially it was only one, is it your phone or mine? Initially there was only one place, but then we were grateful enough to get a second, and at the last minute Spiro was also involved, and I believe both guys made the most of that event, and I think they did very well with their score at the end as well. So that's about all the information I wanted to divulge right now, and I think I'll leave the rest to Steve. So if you could just welcome Steve Fraser. He's going to give us a bit of a rundown on what happened on the day. Thanks, Steve. Do you want to sit down or stand up? Stand up. Do you need me to put it in the pocket for you? Or you good?
Okay, this is a bit of an experience for me. Usually I'm on the other side of the camera watching from home. So I've been in Airstream for quite a few years, and I've been on the network team for a couple of years. Despite that, I've never really done much hands-on stuff with MikroTik gear that we use quite extensively through the Airstream network. So I was really excited and pleased to get the opportunity to attend the course, and as the course came closer I was really looking forward to it, and let me tell you, I wasn't disappointed. It was a very good course. So what was the course? It was the MikroTik Certified Network Associate, MTCNA course, and that course is the sort of the basic or the preliminary qualification for MikroTik gear, and it leads on to other qualifications, about six other courses that you can do that are a bit more specialised, but all of them have this MTCNA as a prerequisite. The course was a 3-day course. It was held at Pepper's Hotel in Weymouth Street in the centre of Adelaide. Put on by a company called Duxtel. They're distributors of MikroTik gear, and the instructor, as Troy mentioned, was Mike Everest. Mike's a very, very pleasant, very knowledgeable person, and turned out to be a terrific teacher. I know both myself and Spiro were very, very pleased with what he presented and how he did it. The course itself didn't have any particular prerequisites other than good networking knowledge, but it wasn't sort of a formal prerequisite. But having done the course, I think if if you weren't pretty good at networking, you might struggle. If you weren't familiar with subnets and didn't know what ARP was and didn't understand how to set up routing like this, I think you would struggle. There were actually about 8 people on the course, and 5 of them had actually been using Microtik gear for quite some years. My experience at Microtik was managing to get on and print out some configuration. So I was very much the beginner in the course, but as it happened, that didn't matter. The course was well paced and nobody got left behind, and so it went really well. It was a hands-on course. There were something like 40 little hands-on exercises we did during the 3 days. We used this bit of hardware, which is 5-port switch access point router, and we used this for all the hands-on exercises, and we also used this for the actual exam. So these machines got a lot of use during the course. There was also a workbook. As you can see, it's fairly thick, and it was quite comprehensive, mirrored pretty much exactly what the course presenter was presenting during the course. So in terms of content of the course, there were 8 modules. The 8 modules plus the exam at the end were done over the 3 days, so that was 3 or 4 modules a day, so we were going through it pretty fast. It started off with the router OS and licensing, router board hardware, Winbox, the utility that you use for managing and maintaining it, and then how to handle packages and maintenance. We then went on to configuring ports and addresses and things like DHCP. The thing about router OS is that it doesn't sort of do things automatically for you. Pretty much everything you do yourself separately, so you have to remember all the steps. It's not automated like a lot of other environments. The next module covered bridges and routing, and then the one after that was wireless and wireless configuration. I should point out that although Airstream uses mainly Ubiquiti gear for its RF links and Microtiks for routing because of their better routing capability, despite that, the wireless part of the course was really good and really interesting, and particularly if you're setting up something at home, that it'd all be quite relevant. We then went through firewalls and security, and if you've used Linux IP tables, you'd be very, very comfortable, because that really did show the sort of how the underlying Linux was used in a router OS. We did queuing and traffic control, and that was interesting, putting speed limits and watching how different machines would interact with one another and sometimes slow each other down or not slow each other down according to how you configured things. We then did VPNs, setting up VPNs and tunnels and using various different protocols. And finally, the final module was to do with tools, the various tools that are available throughout router OS for debugging and so on, and checking your system. And then on the final day, we had the exam. Everyone sort of approached that with quite a lot of trepidation. It was a multiple choice exam. We had about 25 questions. Each person, though, got a different exam. The questions were chosen randomly, and that was actually quite frustrating, because you couldn't think of the third question, or what did you put down, because they didn't have the same question as you. So, so you never really got to know what the correct answers were. And the questions themselves were actually quite taxing. They were renowned for asking questions that made you sort of think outside the square a bit and bring in knowledge that was perhaps otherwise unrelated to the question, and that really was taxing. One example of that was there was a question about firewall rules to stop mail traffic, and 2 of the answers were clearly wrong, and the other 2 answers were potentially correct. You had to know, though, that you don't normally run a mail server on a microtick box, so therefore one of those answers wasn't really relevant, and that left the final answer. And there were a lot of questions were like that, so that was really challenging. There's a lot of, it wasn't just a superficial question, there was a lot of in-depth knowledge required for the question. Despite all that, we all passed. In fact, the instructor said that we were one of the highest scoring groups he'd ever had. I think that was largely due to the 5 other people who'd had all that extra experience. Spiro actually, I think, got the highest score of anyone in the course. But we all passed, so that was great. That was it.
Well done. I'm not sure why I thought it was 1 day, but yeah, 3-day course. Very nice.
And did you get that on the course? Or?
Yes, we did. Yeah. Yeah. Already planning on deploying it.
So definitely recommended if anyone else is interested, or if
Oh
another
yes,
opportunity arises.
without a doubt. If you get the opportunity to do that course,
That's great.
grab it. Yeah, really good.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And of course, yeah, again, a big thanks to Mike and the Duxtel team for giving us those opportunities. You know, it's really really kind of them to think of us in that way. And you guys know that Duxtel are available. We generally go to them for all of our microtick needs these days, and you can see why. They're just very experienced guys, and they know what they're doing. So we'll keep you appraised of any other opportunities like that. It's a good reason to keep your eye out on the members mailing list though, and whenever these things are available, we always try and put them out to the members for, you know, just as a democratic way of giving it out basically. So there you go. The next one on the agenda, we want to go and talk about Aslan. There's been a few updates for Aslan. You would have heard that it's happening on the 7th and 8th of July. A 27-hour, I believe it is, event. And we've got a video presentation from coordinator Daniel. I think we'll probably just let that roll and see what happens after that. See if this works.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I am one of the team members for Aslan. I was really hoping to be at the meeting tonight, but things haven't gone my way, so I apologise for that in advance. So what I've decided to do is I've created this video really quickly. I apologise about the quality, and I'm just going to talk a few bits about Aslan. We have been working really hard to try and get this one off the ground. There's a few things we've done, we announced last time. One thing we announced is that Aslan is going to be run over 2 nights. We're starting Aslan this year, this session, from the 7th of July, which is on a Friday night, over through to the 8th of July, which is really exciting for us because we've never done this before. It's a new initiative and it seems to have created some extra interest is what we're trying to do. So the plan is trying to get as many people as we can down to Aslan. So, new timing, same venue. We have a few issues with the venue, the fact that half of it's been renovated, but we've been assured by the hosts of our venue that we're going to be able to do Aslan as promised, and we should be unhindered by the renovations, so that's really good news. We also done a few other things a bit out of the normal between now and since we've last spoken. We ran an Aslan competition, which we leading up to the event. This was a Minecraft competition, and the idea was as we hid a few prizes inside a very specialised world that we created, and this world basically had all kinds of traps and all kinds of fun stuff to do, and we did get not the best result we wanted out of it, but we did get a lot of people come in and have a shot at it. Even people that are unique to Aslan and never seen it before have actually come in and had a bit of a peek. The prize was claimed by a character by the name of Killer7788, known as Ashton. He's claimed the prize, so congratulations to him, and some of the other prizes that we put in there, which is on the day kind of, cans of drinks and cokes and all that kind of stuff are available, which were also claimed. So every prize we hid in there claimed. So that event started on last weekend. It started at Friday night sometime, and was ran through till the prize was claimed, which was sometime on Saturday afternoon. The intention was to keep going, but there was no real point, so we finished it off there. Very exciting. we are trying to spam as much as Aslan as we can to everybody. So if you guys know anyone that's interested in Aslan, please tell them about us. The Aslan is, looks like we've got about 10 pretty much confirmed people and about 4 tickets sold last I checked, but we'll have to check that again for you. But, we've at least got 10 at this stage interested, but there's going to be a whole lot more talking about it and asking questions. So we're going to continue to banter out Aslan for you. We really would love to see you there. If anything, it's just going to be a lot of fun. I'll just show you our advertisement we've got on there. This is the sort of the flyer that we've been throwing around. We've got huge amounts of prizes to give away that people have very kindly donated for us to be able to do that. So getting in there and having a chance to win a prize is exciting, and we might even have more than what we've offered here because heaps of people are really interested. 7th of July, you need to put in your diary. You need to come along to us. You need to support us. It's been really good. We've also been upgrading the website. Here's just a quick snapshot of the website we're upgrading. We're finding that pretty much every land that's still in Adelaide at the moment are really concentrating on social media and concentrating on websites. So what we've been doing is working on a new website to be able to basically gain the interest and give the ability to log in, do your log for your competitions, set up your teams, that kind of stuff. So it is really important that we try and keep up with the times, so we're doing a little bit of that as well. The last thing I suggest we should suggest is that we've been talking to other learning events as well to try and help get our name out there, and can't really have the details for you at this moment, but we've been talking to other learning groups who are willing to put our name out there at their events. And we've got a couple of guys in our team who are working on that and trying to get us sort of known in other landing to try and be able to build people to come along. So that's all I have to say for tonight. So sorry I couldn't be there. I really tried. But yeah, if you can support us, you want to give us a hand or anything at all, even questions, email us at aslan@airstream.org. And one of us will get back to you straight away. Well, can't say straight away, but as soon as we possibly can. Sorry guys, I can't be there. You have a great one. Ciao for now.
Thanks for that, Daniel. There you go. So as he said, just try and minify this a little bit. I did have their website up here actually. So if you are interested in registering or finding out more, it's a new site they're putting together on aslan.org.au, and I believe you can actually do the online registration by this menu here. In the top right there's a menu, free orders, land details, comps. I'm sure they'll be updating that with more information as well, but for now that's where you want to go. We have already seen a bunch of bookings coming in, as he mentioned. There's 10 or so people already booked. Still a month or so till the land, so plenty of time. Just make sure that you got the date in your calendar for that Friday night and try not to miss it. I think it's pretty good with respect to other lands and other events clashing on that weekend. I think it's pretty clear, so it should be alright. And as he said, any more information, it's just aslan@airstream.org. Shoot an email through and a whole bunch of guys will all get that. Anything else? Any other questions? Aslan related topics? The same goes for helpers. I know that they're, they don't have particularly huge staff of people doing the organising and promoting of the land. So even if you want to help out with the website and social media stuff, I'm sure Daniel would very much appreciate that. So give it a bit of thought and consideration. So that's about it. The other event we wanted to mention was the Maker Faire, which we got an email recently, and they seem to have locked in a date of Sunday, November 5th for the Maker Faire. We are definitely hoping to attend, so similar scenario. If any of you guys can help out with the presence at the Maker Faire, as a minimum, we'll just have a stand there with some display hardware and bit of documentation about the club, maybe a laptop that's online with the website and that kind of info. If you've got any great ideas for something a bit more involved that you'd want to do at the Maker Faire, we're always welcome to help you out with that. And we'd love to hear of any suggestions as well, based on what other people have seen, you know, the kinds of things that go on at the Maker Faire. It is a more hands-on environment, so we find it a little bit hard, obviously, to put together anything kind of physical for the event, other than just having examples of the types of hardware we use. And I'm not sure if we'll be able to have any sort of network presence at the event this year yet. We'll have to see how that goes before November. But yeah, there are a few other projects that are related that may be happening, you know, before then. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, any creative ideas that you might have, please let us know. For Aslan, so November 5th, we'll get all these dates in the Airstream calendar as well, the Google Calendar. So make sure you subscribe to that if you're not, and you can get all the reminders. We put all of our meeting reminders in there as well. So finally from me, before we move on to the network guys, just a bit of a web update. And I think at the last meeting we'd pretty much just enabled the online renewals through the new membership portal, and that's proving to be very successful. You guys have been putting all your renewals through on that with the PayPal, and I think we've even had a few new memberships as well that have done that way. So that's really excellent. And you know, if there's any other questions or issues with that, let us know. We want to improve it, and I'm sure Sam is still working away to polish it up even more. There's more features that we know we are missing from the new system, so they're still in the works. And the NodeDB, the beta site that I've been running off Walker, has been updated last weekend as well. Those of you that are familiar with nodedb.walker.wan, so I'm still interested in hearing feedback from people with regards to the new features, some of which I'll quickly highlight. This is all kind of, well, the most recent updates are off the back of the fact that we don't actually have our DNS system fully functional as it was last year. So the data from this database, which has now been migrated from the old one, will be used to populate our DNS system once again very shortly, probably this week at some point. And what you can do now with all of the host records that you'll find underneath your sites, if you manage the host name here, the primary host name, which I can't see because it's reflecting off the screen, that's not a good example. I'll just show you a LAN one. So you get your primary host name here when you're editing one of the hosts, but you can also manage any aliases, and it should have imported some if I have a look at one of these, for example. All your existing aliases should still be in there. And all that data will be exported into the DNS system, which I'll be providing some more documentation, hopefully, for those of you that do maintain a DNS server. And I think up until now, the existing DNS servers on the network have still been operational with the snapshot of the data as it was in January when we had the crash. So everything's still okay, but that'll probably all just kick over when this is live. And we'll try not to break everything when we do that as well, ideally. But you know, there might be a few differences. There were a few small errors and glitches in the old system with the way that it was generating host names. So if you notice anything that is different, I'm just giving you a heads up before it happens. There'll be an email related to all this as well, but just expect that there might be a few little differences with respect to the naming of some of the automated generated host names. You know, as you would be aware, you've got stuff like site A to site B backbones for all your backbone hosts, which are all auto-generated, so they're not actually editable anyway. You can alias them if you want, but I think generally what people do is, and any of you that are actually able to, if you can go onto the system when you get a moment, and you know, any of the sites that you're manager of, you'll notice that for each device in the list here on the left, there's two interfaces listed. You've got the WLAN Naught, which is your wireless interface, And none of the actual antenna or radio information is in there because we didn't know that back in the day. So you can set that information up now. I don't expect to be dropping this data again after this update. So expect this to become what will be the live database. But yeah, feel free to set that up with the correct information and let me know if there's more profiles that are missing from here. There will be, I'm sure. Justo was helping me 6 months ago to get that list updated, so there's probably some more things that need to go in there now. And you know, other things like frequencies and all channel data and all that, let's get all that working while we can. But the ETH0 interface, which should be present on each device, one thing you will need to do is go to your LAN devices down at the bottom, and for those of you that have done it, and it's the usual way we do the setups, is to assign one of the LAN IPs. You need to do that via this list up here. So you can put everything back together basically as to how it was. Well, we never had the concept of a device before in the existing database, so now this models more closely what the typical setup kind of looks like.
Rename the dev one to something else.
Yeah, you can rename all this stuff as well, so I'd recommend doing that as well. Get that in line with how you want it. You can rename everything, yeah. Except stuff like that. If you don't like WLAN not, call it whatever you want.
A question on
Wi-Fi 0.
Troy, if we like added links and randomly picked IP addresses, if we've added links between sites and stuff.
Oh, existing ones?
Yeah,
Yep.
so like I added a link between airport and PAS.
When did you do that? On here or?
No.
An old one?
No, not
Real life.
just real life.
Oh, if you and you want to line it up again?
Yeah, I just like want to get the IP address in there.
Yep.
What's the best way to do that?
You probably have to give it a go, but you probably have to just let me know what the deets are and I'll just manually tweak it.
Manually do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I originally did have this completely open so that you could just completely break everything, but now that things are disabled that you shouldn't be editing,
Yeah.
you probably have to let me know. You can try, I mean, with any luck you might get assigned the same address, but if you don't want to renumber everything, just try it and then just delete it.
I mean, you're aware that we're renumbering, it's possible to just renumber otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done a few manually for people as well in the interim, which won't be in here yet. I'm going to have to do them first.
I was thinking like Sam did one to ERC from Eagle Farm the other day.
Yeah, right.
Stuff like that.
Yes. I think I've kept a record of recent ones though that I've let
Yeah.
you guys know, so I'll try and get them fixed
Yeah.
primarily. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some issues, but you know, let's work them out early on so we can get everything ship shape again.
And is the DNS for it open on the LAN so that we can query against it to see if the DNS records look right?
What I might do is, in the next few days,
Yeah.
I'll just spin up a separate server somewhere you can query.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just before we
Good
set it
idea.
live, just so you can like do it, give
Yep.
MSX and have a look and see if it's right.
I mean, it's even possible that I could just have a little export button here. You can dump all the host names for a particular node or something like that, if that's helpful.
What might be worth doing is exporting the DNS file from there and then diffing it against what's
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was planning to do that on the weekend. Yeah.
Well, alright.
That'll be step one, is to diff it against the old one. But one thing this also does is if you don't name a host, I don't know, there you go, it'll auto name it.
Right, okay.
Oh, cool.
So that's new. And then you'll get a PTR record with that
That's great. Yeah.
prefix. So, you know, I've updated a few things as well, which means it's going to be a bit different. But there you go. Where's my mouse gone? Now, the DNS document, any volunteers for a quick recap on that one? Probably need someone from the committee meeting last week. Okay, well there's a DNS policy document which I didn't prepare beforehand. Maybe I'll do that while you're speaking about network topics. Who's the representative today? Alright, Sam's going to give us an update on network related. You got your own little thing there.
So we're going to talk about the BNP stuff. Like, the team going to cover that, no? We're good.
That's item number 1 on my list.
I'm going to talk about BGP.
Good. So I see general
Are you gonna, do some throat singing?
Talk about Sam because my voice isn't amazing.
I don't even know what you're talking about. That's very classy.
You get Sean to do subtitles.
I think I was talking about filtering.
Cool.
How you going?
Pretty good. Cool, some updates. Libby and Tonsley's been moving along. Sam's been dealing with that. We've had some talks with some people at the uni, and we're pretty much progressing on that. Should be pretty soon that we get approval from them, I would assume. We're pretty close. There's only one. Sam's currently submitted a document to the site, the person that we're liaising through for the uni, and then we're waiting for approval, and then we'll probably do some final changes and submit to committee. So that's an update from Tonsley.
Excellent.
O'Halloran Hill's been completed. Alignments have been done on the O'Halloran Hill end. The guys went there and fixed that up on the weekend.
And there's a Highgate Park visit scheduled for the other end, on one of those.
There was a I think it was Sam and Joseph went to there, and apparently the site visiting conditions have changed.
Yeah.
So they're going to follow the process and attempt to get access again.
When one has time.
Did you guys have any, Ray and Juster, do you guys have any update at Northfield? Cool. As we've got,
We're working on a couple of new buildings in the Highgate area.
yeah, new buildings in the Highgate area to potentially replace Highgate when that eventually gets knocked down. Blair Athol pretty much has no progress.
Rally's trying to get an EARC.
Well, there's a tentative date for ERC, which is the 17th.
We're aiming for the 17th.
Yeah,
Which is
Sensitive?
Saturday.
yes, which is a Saturday. So
It's booked right with member, right?
Yeah, it's all
Yeah, so we need a call for members to help.
Yeah.
But we can only have 5 max, was it?
about that,
Yeah. How many have you got so far?
about 3.
Alright, so we need 2 more people that are fit and willing. Like, it's important because you're going to be climbing 3 10-meter ladders.
Yep.
You don't have to look fit, you just need to be capable of climbing 10-meter ladders a couple times in the day and carry stuff and be able to actually be useful. Because if you can get there and climb the ladders and sit on your bum, then you're a waste of space, and we need someone that isn't going to do that. But yeah, we're looking for 2 more people. What's that?
I'll go.
Now we're only looking for 1.
I'll go.
Alright, there we go. Field positions.
Yeah, and definitely need a photographer this time.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. People that are doing this kind of work don't really think about.
GoPro on the head?
Right?
I've got camera.
Have we got the gear for that?
I believe it's been ordered.
It's been ordered.
Yeah.
Isn't that what's coming in Goon's Magic?
Yeah, Magic.
Right, Magic Box?
The backhaul stuff we've already got, and the sectors are on their way next year.
Probably to get that from there.
Who can give the most succinct overview of exactly what is happening for anyone that doesn't know?
So the rockets, all the M5 gears getting replaced with AC lights and
There's one AC light.
Yes. Get up here, Alex.
It's all prisms except for 1.
So there's all prisms except for one. So I believe the sectors are getting the prisms
That's right.
and the backhaul's getting
Getting
the AC light.
No, they're getting
It's a power. Is it? Or is it an AC light?
I thought it was an AC light to Ingle Farm.
I don't remember. I thought we had a power beam
Does
system.
it-
Just over tells me this is shit.
Do you have a 600?
Let me see
We
if I
have
can check
some
for you.
form of 620mm dish. No, it's a light, it's a light.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's a light for that.
No, it's a light.
It's integrated, right?
No, it's a rocket light.
Which means we need that. So what's that light radio we use for the backhaul to Ingle Farm?
Yeah. It's just a backup anyway. In theory.
Well, I think
This is really, really good, and then
Yes.
the Prime Reaper.
the link to Ingle Farm has better line of sight than Golfview.
That's true, but it's also about 50 million times further
And longer.
and goes over the top of New Zealand.
It does 20 megabits connected to APR6
It is. It's not.
on a sector, so
It's alright.
I reckon with the rocket dish would be pretty good.
Oh, that's in fact capability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, sweet. Yeah. So basically, the approach was we decided to use the more expensive Prism radios on all the sectors that had clients already on them. And with the one that's pointing into the Scriban at the RAF base, we've left it as a light. So it's got coverage if someone wants to use it, but we haven't spent the extra money on it because didn't feel like there was a lot of point.
we should probably send. We need to send an email, and that's also letting members know upgrade your firmware on your nano beams and power bridge.
We need to do 5.3.
Power bridge. They'll need to be version 6.
Oh, sure, but 6 point. Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have to upgrade to 6, which is on the Ubiquity website. We'll send an email around linking it out. So if you don't update, you'll get disconnected because of the backwards compatibility.
Also Mac-lock.
Yes, and disable Mac light locks and frequency scan lists. Turn them off. Otherwise, you'll get disconnected also, even if you update. Do you want to talk about route filtering?
Sorry?
Do you want to talk about route filtering around the network?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Sam. And now welcome Sam.
I'm the croaky voice that's been in the background. It's been a while since I've been standing in front of this thing. Yeah, right, I'll just talk quickly about Highgate Park. So it's been over a year since we've been to Highgate Park, and in that time they've hired a new building manager who's been changing their policies as new building managers do. They now require a 24-hour notice for access there, either email or phone. He didn't know who we were, though he seemed quite happy with us being there, but he gave me his details and just said, make sure you let me know. One thing I did ask him, however, which is a positive, is that if all this goes smoothly, once they know who we are, we can request weekend access. So we tell them on a Thursday or a Friday that we need to go on Saturday, and they will leave the key on level 6 for us, and yeah, no problem. So that's an improvement. We haven't tested this process yet, so we don't know if it works, but yeah, Joseph and I will do that when we have time. We got there with our ladder and our computers and our internet and... process has changed. Oh, and also the guy you need to talk to is not here today. Okay, so yeah. So that was disappointing, but that's the way it is. The thing I'm here to speak about briefly is a route filtering ticket that I have created. I don't know where it is in the list. There it is, there, blue one. Basically, there's been some non-Airstream private addresses kind of floating around the network, which is not really great because it can break connectivity for people when that conflicts. If they're prefixes that are longer, then they can actually break people's internal networks as well, so it's not great. So I intend to filter those out. The other thing that we discussed in the last network team meeting is that we'll also start filtering for route poisoning based on the network prefix policy, which I'll get Hat to bring up, please.
Network prefix policy.
Airstream.org/ASIPDB, I think it is.
Oh, that old...
It might even be linked into it.
That old gem.
So basically, we've got these chunks that Airstream, in collaboration with some other groups, I think it was Sydney Wireless and Melbourne Wireless, and there was a couple of groups. Yeah. So they all got, these guys all got together and they chunked up the 10.0.0.0/8 range into these chunks, including New Zealand. And you know what? So far, all the community wireless groups in Australia have still been sticking with them. So we've got WACAN and WA Freenet in Perth that have actually chopped their /11 into 2. So they use a /12 each. We've got the guys in Victoria using theirs. They're only using a /20, a /16, I think, for their whole network. They assigned /24s out, just willy-nilly. But for us, if you scroll down further, we've actually then further chunked up our /11 into this. So we've got 3 classes of prefix. We've got the access points, which are an omni or a sector that you get allocated one IP address for from the access points /27. So those /27s get assigned from these. You got the /30s on point-to-point links, which get assigned from the backbone range. And you've got member subnets, so when you assign yourself a LAN /27 or whatever, I don't know if Hat's letting you assign things that are bigger than a /27 yet, but they come from the member subnet range. Now, back in the early days, aspiring community wireless people thought, hey, maybe the network will be neat enough that we'll be able to fit aggregation into these physical areas. Now, we all know wireless networks don't quite work that way, so it's a bit aspirational, but that's what these sections are. So if you live kind of like in the inner north of Adelaide, you'll get this one here. If you live out Elizabeth Way, you'll get the outer one. And it's as simple as that, really. Means that you get funky things like, if you live in Victoria and you're a member of Airstream and you decide to assign yourself an IP address from here, you'll get like the outer southeast range. So anyway, the proposal and what I'll be implementing is that we will filter these ranges so that Airstream won't carry anything smaller than a /27, so a /28, /29, whatever, in the access point and member subnet ranges, just won't carry it at all. And in the backbone range, similarly, won't carry anything smaller than a /30. In fact, it will only carry /30s and /31s, and that'll be it. The reason for this is those longer prefixes end up poisoning the network. So if you've got your LAN on a /27 and some guy decides to advertise a /28 somewhere else, your traffic, half of your traffic will go there. If they decide to advertise both halves of your /27 and /28 somewhere, then all of your traffic will go there instead of to you, and it's a good way to cut other members off the network. So it's just good routing practice to block stuff that you don't expect to find. So that's the proposal. Happy to answer any questions if anyone's got them, but it's pretty straightforward. Looking through the route table, there'll be no member impact at all, except on myself, because I'm route poisoning myself, but other than that.
As a test, obviously.
I moved a router loop back to another site as a backup.
Very cool. Yeah. So members can also get involved with doing this if they wish, but this is just a general.
Yeah, so this will be
happening on the core.
Yeah, so this will be happening on every core node and nodes that I look after, basically. I'll put my config into the ticket as I do it, and any member node is quite welcome to implement it, and I recommend implementing it because it does make the network more secure. It makes it much less likely that bad things can happen. An example of a bad thing that could happen is, say, one IP in your range gets announced from somewhere, and one of your services ends up then getting filtered through there and man in the middle. That's an example. One of the things you should be careful with on Airstream on that note is DNS, that it is very easy for members to accidentally or on purpose intercept DNS and filter it and look through it and look at interesting stats and whatever of other people's DNS. So just be aware that that does happen, and if you don't want your internet DNS to be going through someone else's little catch, consider doing DNS splitting, and I think that's probably a tutorial for a different meeting.
Well, we've got a few guides on that on the wiki, I think they are.
Yeah, there are some guides for that. They're a bit out of date, but
yeah.
I've just in the last 6 months, I've come across a couple of cases of that where people are doing split DNS themselves on their Airstream router, and they're being a little bit less specific than they should be, and they're actually catching everyone's DNS going through that router. So yeah, it's just worth being aware of.
Does that allocation happen through the NodeDB?
Yeah, that's the NodeDB uses that. The NodeDB actually had an overlay back in the day that would show you the zones, and it'll show you where your node was in the zones. It was like this kind of like pie with a circle.
Like a cell map kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Looks like a pie with 8 pieces.
Yeah. Well, 16.
But yeah, that's basically the rules that are used to do the IP allocation. So when you've placed your node somewhere, if you assign that node a LAN subnet, it'll come from the appropriate one on that column.
Yeah, which is good because it lets us do this filtering.
They're also different enough such that you can't mess up as easily. Like you don't get neighbouring ones for dissimilar services and things. Like it kind of works out pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and you can. It means that once you get familiar with the network, you can know at a glance just looking at a prefix what it's supposed to be. Yeah. And where it comes from too. Like you know that a 104 is going to be west, and you know that a 114 will probably be south, and a 108 will be northeast. That kind of stuff. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to sit down. Thank you.
Good. All right. Any other network topics? I've got that user policy document up. I will quickly just preview that over here. So I think we've visited this before. The initial version of this document was kind of a mixture of technical and guideline speak. And after being tasked with reviewing it, Steve has kindly split it up into two, such that the initial document being this one, which is called the user policy, is a focus on just the guidelines for appropriate naming of things on the network, and also the basic rules that we use to name things on the network, such as I showed before with suffixing all the backbone host names with backbones.wan. And if we have any other things that we develop over time, we'll update this document with them. But yeah, this document is really only a very simple thing, and it's kind of been in draft for so long that we want to just get it out amongst you guys. So I think this will probably be going out by some kind of members list email soon for review by the members. And otherwise, will just become one of our guidelines. I'm not sure if we'll, if it doesn't really specify any specific rules and regulations or anything like that. It's really just a informational thing for members so that they know how things work. The other half of this document is now going to be a technical document, and that'll involve more of the specifics of the infrastructure itself and configuration and things like that.
It actually already exists as a wiki page.
Exactly, yeah. So, we're just trying to kind of put it all together into something that makes sense. And, that's slowly happening, which is very good. And thanks for everyone that's had input on that in the meantime. All right, I think that's about it from the agenda tonight. Just to recap the usual things: ASLAN 7th of July, Maker Faire November 5th. There's a few visits going on, such as the EARC upgrade. The date was June 17th. If you can assist and are relatively well skilled or fit enough to carry stuff, get in touch with someone, the committee or the network team. And also if you're up north there and you're interested in helping out with the build, I know there are a lot of members that are connected to EARC these days, and maybe some of them would be interested in helping out. What day is that? Is that a weekday? That is a Saturday, so that's pretty cool. So there's that one. And again, heed that warning. If you are going to be affected by the upgrade from EARC, make sure you have your radio firmware updated to 6 point something, and to disable any MAC address lock and or frequency scan list in your configuration. Sam mentioned that there'll be an email that gives you a bit more instruction on how to do these things, links to the appropriate firmwares and things, so make sure you've done all that before June 17th, and you should experience very little interruption. Alrighty, so I guess we'll leave it there for tonight. Thanks to everyone for contributing tonight, and we will catch you in a month. This was actually a long month, so I think we had a 3 or 4 week gap after the committee meeting. Next meeting will be on June 28th, and at this venue, unless otherwise notified. So have a great week, rest of the week, guys, and we'll see you next time.